We've reached the jaw-dropping end of Tell Me Lies Season 2, on Disney Plus in Canada, Hulu in the US, with Megan Oppenheimer's series keeping us guessing right up until the last minute. From the relationship between Lucy, Grace Van Patten, and Stephen, Jackson White, to Bree's, Catherine Missal, affair with Oliver, Oppenheimer's husband Tom Ellis, Tell Me Lies had our hearts pumping all season. Looking back at Season 2, Oppenheimer shared to Yahoo Canada that the relationship between Bree and Oliver was particularly personal to her. The showrunner also spoke about her desire to constantly surprise the show's audience. Aside from the continued Lucy and Stephen drama, Bree has proved to be a core character to watch this season. In the later timeline we see the lead up to Bree's wedding to her college boyfriend Evan, Brandon Cook, but going back to 2008 things were looking rocky for the couple. That's when the attractive Professor Oliver comes into the picture. Just when you expect this to be a Pretty Little Liars situation, Tell Me Lies adds a surprising twist that makes it feel different from what we've seen from similar situations on other shows. When Bree and Oliver's affair ends, we find out that his wife Marianne, Gabriella Peshan, was completely aware of it. While Bree thought she was in this secret relationship, she was more like a pawn in this couple's chess game. Bree's storyline this season felt very personal to me and it really resonated with me on a lot of levels, Oppenheimer shared. I think it was the one that broke my heart the most, and I think a lot of the writers felt that way in the writer's room. It really got at my core in a way that actually surprised me. I wanted to explore the sense of power you have as a young girl when you were at the beginning of your romantic life. There's something really terrifying about being wanted by older men, but also something that feels very powerful, and I think there is this sense of power that Bree has. She thinks someone is risking all this stuff for her, but then I think when you look back in your 30s, you're like, oh, I didn't actually have any power at all. In terms of having her husband on the show as Oliver, Oppenheimer loved having Tom Ellis on set, but particularly in this role. To tackle a sensitive story you could cast someone in that role that you never know who you're going to get, and I was happy that I felt like Kat was very protected by that, because my husband is the kindest, most protective person, Oppenheimer said. I think, just knowing that we were dealing with a good guy and someone that Kat already knew, it made everyone feel a bit safer. In the final moments of Tell Me Lies Season 2, we see Bree, in her wedding dress, just before her wedding ceremony is set to start, listening to the audio recording Stephen sent her of Evan confessing that the summer in college when he cheated on Bree, it was with Lucy. As Lucy walks up behind Bree and says, "You ready?" The season ends. It's an ending that has us already anxiously waiting and hopeful for a Season 3, and after 2 seasons of Tell Me Lies, Oppenheimer has proved to be the queen of a cliffhanger. I always feel like this show is at its best when it feels like there's an evil god looking down on the characters and laughing gleefully at all of their mistakes, she said. And so I wanted the ending to be shocking, but I wanted it to be sort of almost funny in a nasty way, because I think that is the tone of the show that works the best. I always want to surprise people. I mean, I am just such an asshole in that way. I always am just thinking about what will no one expect, and what will really anger people the most, because it's fun. And I think people kind of watch this show, almost like they watch reality TV, where you're just screaming at the characters. The actress says she was wondering ahead of the finale, how do they top the rest of the season and also sum everything up? And they did just that. Grace Van Patten is also in shock over the insane bombshells dropped in the Season 2 finale of Tell Me Lies. The 27-year-old actress plays Lucy Albright, a college sophomore at the center of the world's messiest friend group. And after October 16's Season 2 finale, her character is somehow mired in even more drama than she already was. As she sits down with people to discuss it, Van Patten is almost at a loss for words. So much happens up until the finale that I'm like, how do they top the rest of the season and also sum everything up? And also, leave people hanging for potentially another season. Van Patten says, and they really did. The finale saw Lucy's clandestine freshman year hookup with Evan, Brandon Cook, who was dating Bree, Kat Missal, at the time, finally get exposed. And on Evan and Bree's wedding day, to boot, the episode also saw Lucy sleep with Stephen, Jackson White, for the first time in months, after which she rekindled her relationship with Leo, Thomas Doherty, only to then watch him beat Stephen to a bloody pulp after learning that he'd hooked up with her, too. They opened up another can of worms by that last scene, Van Patten says of Bree's wedding day chaos. After sitting on a voice memo of Evan admitting to cheating on Bree with Lucy for close to 8 years, Stephen sent Bree the voice memo moments before she was due to walk down the aisle. I think it's really going to make people be like, where is this going to go? She calls the episode's last bombshell so genius because it comes after so many other jaw-dropping reveals that the audience has almost lost track. It's like, oh, they're going to get away with it. Like, that's done. They just both get away with it, she says of Lucy and Evan's secret hookup. And then, it just comes tumbling down. And I can only imagine what the rest of that wedding will look like. There's one plot point that still hasn't been tied up, though, which is that Lucy's ex-best friend Lydia, Natalie Linez, is engaged to Stephen in the 2015 timeline. There's that little scene, where there's a little bit of connection between them, Van Patten says of how Season 2 develops Lydia and Stephen's relationship. And you see that Lydia turns on me, so that it's like, oh, okay, Lydia now has no loyalty to Lucy, so you can see the trajectory, like where that could go.